Welcome back to Preps Insider, and we're talking about Week 4 with Jay Schwab of the Kane County Chronicle and Kevin Druley of the Kane County Chronicle. Guys, a couple big matchups coming up, one being Batavia. They've got a road game against Bartlett, who, oddly enough, has only given up 30 points this year after Batavia scored 41 of their own points in 1 week last week. How do you see that matchup in the Upstate 8 crossover, Jay?
I'm really intrigued to see what Batavia comes out with this week. Batavia's won 2 games in a row, of course, after starting with a loss against Marmion, having beaten West Chicago Week 2, and then whipping Larkin last week. I was at that Week 2 game against West Chicago, and even though they won the game, it was kind of an uneven performance. I wouldn't call it a really good performance, whereas this last week they played excellent football against Larkin. So if you want to be a good team or a great team, you've got to start stringing multiple really strong performances in a row. So I'm eager to see if Batavia can do that after playing so well against Larkin. Bartlett is 1-2, but that is, as they say, a pretty deceptive 1-2. They played a very difficult schedule early on, lost a very close game against Crystal Lake South, which is having a good year. Crystal Lake South beat that Cary Grove powerhouse. And then last week against a Waubonsie Valley team that's really good. So Bartlett sitting at 1-2 and probably feeling like this is a game they really need to win to turn their season around. It's going to be a difficult challenge for Batavia. I can't wait to see how they perform this weekend.
It'll be harder for Noel Gaspari to be perfect through the air like he was last week.
Tough
certainly.
to live up to. Yeah.
Kevin, what do you think about the matchup here for Caneland this week? Caneland now riding high, 3-0, and they have another crossover game in the Northern Illinois Big 12 facing off against LaSalle Peru.
Yeah, East meets West again, and it kind of is a story of 2 really different teams going in 2 different directions. LaSalle Peru comes in 1-2, got shut out last week against Sterling, 13-0. The offense was really anemic, abysmal. Any of those words probably might even be putting it lightly. They only had 7 first downs, 49 yards of offense. Defense forced 3 turnovers, but it just was a case of the offense not able to get anything off of that or help them out in the least. With Caneland, they come in riding high, like you say, 3-0. At least the online Caneland Nation, the people who comment with kind of Caneland angles, seem to be even saying that, hey, we haven't played anybody yet. They'll see some teams, later on this season, and I know that they won't be discounting LaSalle Peru in the least, but certainly coming off of last week, they should feel better numbers-wise. But I like Caneland again. Last week they still, you look at the score sheet, they still ran and passed almost equally, but I know they were starting out passing a lot more than they were and getting that spread attack going again, and Joe Camilleri looking good with that and multiple touchdowns like they're used to. But I think Caneland can roll to 4-0 certainly this week. And
then, of course, like you said, the schedule gets difficult as they go in the division, in the East Division of the Northern Illinois Big 12, so that'll be very interesting. But first things first, as you said, Geneva travels up Route 31 to visit Elgin in another game. They've got their first win under their belts. Confidence has got to be high.
Yeah, it seems like Geneva has some things figured out offensively, and that passing game taking a turn for the better. I know has to really be a relief to that Geneva coaching staff. And I think defense is Geneva will be a favorite in that game against Elgin, but Elgin's actually off to a 2-1 start. They beat one of their rivals, Streamwood, really handily last week, so they'll be entering feeling good about themselves with some bounce in their step. And I think Geneva will score some points against Elgin, enough to win. The only I guess the X factor is defensively. Geneva's been a little up and down this year, and I saw that game against Morgan Park, a really speedy team, and I know Elgin has some pretty good speed also. And the speed Morgan Park gave them some problems at times. So if they can adjust to that a little bit and figure out a way to keep guys in front of them, I like their chances to win. I think it would be an upset certainly if Geneva lost to Elgin, but the defense I think is the key for the Vikings this week.
Now, St. Charles North has given up 49, 52, and 49 points. Now they have a home game against Streamwood. Do you think it's fair to say maybe the coaches are saying, let's cut that 49 in half or even less this week in terms of tightening up the defense against a team like Streamwood?
I think that'd be reasonable. Yeah, they've already given up given up more points than they gave up in all of last year when they were kind of chasing the East defense for best in the conference and in the area. But yeah, I think that's reasonable. I know that after 3 weeks, they feel like you can make some strides and start taking what you've learned and applying that. And it's certainly easier against an opponent like Streamwood that is coming off a big loss to Elgin and has been struggling, certainly from the beginning of the year. feel like North can come around. We mentioned that they do have some good athletes, and they're hoping to get Jake Bergman back, whether it's in the offensive or defensive backfield or both. But I've got Matt Schiltz throwing the ball. Certainly, like we've mentioned in shows past, they want to get Josh Mikas going consistently. He had that big Week 2 game with McHenry, and but last week kind of was working to get back in there more consistently. But I think North can cut that. Maybe see only 20 or low 30s on the board. I guess would even be better than what it's been before. But yeah, they've got what it takes to get back. And
Streamwood scored, I think, 2 last week, so that offense should be one you'd think if you keep someone in wraps, right. That would be the one, right?
Yeah, and it wouldn't have even been the offense scoring, with the defense.
Yeah, absolutely.
Certainly, Streamwood's going to do better than doubling up on their 2. That's got to be their goal. Mm-hmm. And Jay, St. Charles East, they're 0-3, traveling up to Larkin now. We saw what Batavia did to them. This is a golden opportunity for them to get win number 1. Do you think they'll be able to kind of get things rolling again, despite the injuries that they've ran into?
I think this is a game that will speak to the level of leadership and to be candid about it, the level of kind of fortitude of that St. Charles East team. They're certainly they've starting out a year 0-3. Doesn't matter who you play. 3 straight losses will take its toll on a team's morale. But they have played some excellent competitions, and last week I know was a very difficult loss against Geneva, a game they had a chance to win, a rivalry game. So it's a matter of whether they can kind of regroup, I think, in terms of their psyche and their spirit as a team. And Larkin's a team that will be coming in, I'm sure, after their receiving their share of chewings from the coaching staff throughout the week after Batavia really took it to them this week. So I'd imagine that especially early in that game, Larkin's going to come out with some fight, and St. Charles East is going to have to play close to its best football to win the game. They're not so talented as a team where they can go at 2/3, 3/4 speed and beat even a team that's struggling a little bit like Larkin. So I think if East still realizes that the season's not over, there is still a chance that they can make a push toward 500, maybe even beyond that. I think it's a game that they win. But to me, it's about whether East can lick its wounds in a constructive way and come out ready to take it out on someone.
Well, this will be a valuable week to watch. Week 4, we get to see some common opponents between some of the local teams, whether they've played each other or just facing off against similar teams. So we'll find a lot more, and we'll be almost to the halfway point, guys, of the high school football season. Almost hard to believe that 4 games in here after Week 4. Guys, thanks so much for joining us. Jay Schwab of the Kane County Chronicle. He's the sports editor there, and sports reporter Kevin Druley. I'm Jim Leo. We'll see you again next week to talk high school football right here at Preps Insider.